Hey, Sean Chandler here for Sean Chandler Talks About Live. This is my second rendition of the live edition, and today I am joined by my lovely wife, Jennifer. Say hello.
Hello.
She's not so much one to want to be on camera, so sometimes she'll be talking off to the side. But as I said before, I'm very excited to start to do live stuff where I can interact directly with you. That's actually why I had her join me for this edition, because I can't follow the comments section while trying to remember what to talk about next while following my line of things. So she will kind of be our host along the way on our adventure talking about movies. And as always, I don't want to just talk about movies. I want to talk about movies with you. So join us in the comments section. Tell us what you're thinking. As I'm talking, give me some feedback. She's going to read it to me whenever I finish each section. And if you have any questions you want me to answer, I'll save some time for that at the end if anybody has any questions or if anyone is actually watching along with us, which would be awesome if you guys would actually join us. So thank you so much for all of you that are watching us. With that, Jennifer, if you could give us our first topic of the day.
The first Harry Potter spin-off film, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, has dropped. What did you think about it?
So it's no mystery that I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I don't hate Harry Potter. It's not like something I've interacted with and be like, this is terrible. It just doesn't resonate with me. It's not something that it doesn't work for me. Lord of the Rings doesn't either. However, Star Wars does. I don't know which way is which, but Star Wars with Mr. Darth Vader, that's something that connects with me. Many other things do, just not Harry Potter. But I don't dislike the movies. They're enjoyable enough as I'm watching them. And I was hoping that this one would be one that, as I watched it, it would kind of convince me that moving away from Hogwarts, moving away from kids at a school would pull me into the world more. And I put up my, not really review, but a video talking about 7 big problems with it yesterday on my channel. And I kind of did that intentionally because I didn't want to put out a regular review because I didn't quite know how to quite do that, because I felt like I had mostly negative things I wanted to talk about. But it's not like I didn't have fun watching the movie. I thought it was a very fun, enjoyable ride that was kind of all over the place. It had a lot of problems. The tone, as I mentioned in that video, was very kind of off-putting because you'd have this whimsical, goofy scene with our main character, Newt, bumbling around trying to catch animals with some slapstick humor. And then we cut to the next scene, and it's an orphan being beat by his adopted mother for doing nothing wrong. And he's like cowering in the corner crying. And he's like, where you've got like funny, goofy actors doing the slapsticky stuff. Then you cut to this really good actor, like you're like, I'm unsettled by what I'm seeing right now. And like I said, it was an enjoyable ride. It was well acted. I enjoyed the characters, but even like the mix of the characters, like Newt didn't seem like a very good lead character. He seemed like a good side character. And then some of the stuff what they did, the main villain twist at the end, I didn't think that worked all that well. But it's a fun ride. Jennifer, you are a Harry Potter fan. What are just some of your quick thoughts?
I would agree with what you said. I thought it was whimsical and fun, but it's not in my, I don't know, even top 3 movies.
So, yeah. So, and that's kind of the conversation I've been having with people. So even, Tyler Thompson, who I did a video with about the Harry Potter movies a couple weeks ago, he started texting me after I got out of it, like, what did you think? And we kind of went back and forth. And that's kind of been the general vibe of a lot of the people I've talked with. Is a sense of disappointment. Fun, but disappointing. It's nice to go back to this world. There's a lot of stuff in there that you can enjoy. That's a lot of fun, quirkiness, the uniqueness. J.K. Rowling has some great ideas, but the way it all comes together in this particular story was a very strange kind of direction to go with it. In particular, because they've announced we're gonna do 5 of these movies. We've already got it lined up. David Yates is gonna come back to direct all of them. We're gonna cast Johnny Depp to be this guy that's gonna run throughout all these movies. And then you see the movie, and I just thought to myself, how is this setting up more sequels? Like, how is this setting up what this is supposed to be, this big franchise with all these movies? I don't quite understand how that works with what you've given us. So if I had to give it a rating based off of the level of enjoyment I had versus the number of problems I had with it and kind of what they're doing with it, I think I would go with like a 5.5 out of 10. So I say like a 6 out of 10 is my lowest positive review. So this is just under a positive review. It's a lot of fun, but my big thought that I had throughout it, afterwards, thinking about it, talking with people, was I just remember the problems more so than the fun. Fun ride while you're there, and then you just got the aftertaste. And the aftertaste isn't good. And I'm not thinking to myself, I want more of that. So that was kind of my thoughts on it. Jennifer, was there any comments in the comment section? Anything you wanted to add?
Alter the Stream said it's the worst Harry Potter movies in his opinion, though it's close. I agree the comparison of this being the Hobbit of Harry Potter movies, especially because of the other 41 movies they're making. And you give him a 7.4.
7.4. All right, with that said, what is our next question?
The first Cars 3 teaser trailer dropped earlier this week, and it sparked a very divisive response from audiences. With a few days to process, what did you think?
The funny thing about reading these questions, so I wrote all these questions, so it's kind of fun to have someone read me a question I wrote, just to give you some insight into the world of our highly complex staffing situation here. So anyway, Cars 3, the teaser trailer dropped for it. I'm sure you've seen it. It's a simple scene of our main guy getting in a car wreck, and then it says everything changes. So I actually put up a video of it on Monday. It's the worst video I've put on my channel. The lowest quality, maybe this one will top it because I haven't quite figured out this live streaming stuff yet, but I put it out and the quality's not very good. I didn't even have this microphone for it. I just ran up here, hit stream while my wife and brother went to go look at a house down the street. I was like, I'm going to sneak off and shoot a video even though it's Thanksgiving and people are in town. Put it up, and it's the most viewed video on my channel. The worst one has the most views, which is kind of frustrating. And so I did a live, my thoughts as I watched it. I was like, whoa, that was weird. And then I've had a lot of interactions with people where a lot of people really impressed by the quality of the animation, which I would assume it's a Pixar production. Of course, the quality is going to be great on the animation. And but then the real discussion is, was this an awesome, brave direction to go with being willing to like go in a darker direction, grittier, more adult direction? Or did they just completely jump the shark here and go full blown, we're pandering to adults and forgetting we're making a kid's movie? And so for me, as a parent, as someone looking to make videos, if I'm being fully honest with my wife in the room, she might hit me when I say this, I kind of, as I was making the video, was thinking my kid might start crying at the end of this video. So I am going to use my kid as bait to get him crying, to get people to watch my video, because I'm probably a terrible person. I think that's what that means. But I say all that because I went into it thinking, what are they doing? And I was going to show him anyway. I would have shown it to him whether it was filmed or not, so just to be honest. But what are they thinking making a trailer that me as a parent, that I'm kind of the rough around the edges, wrestle with the kids, if you're crying, you probably just need to tough it up. I'm that kind of bad parent. And I was thinking, Pixar, Disney, what are you thinking putting out a trailer that's making me think I should not show my kid a trailer to a movie that of course he wants to see? And the thing is that wasn't just my take on things. This is an actual quote from someone on Facebook that I used to go to church with. Can I just say, what the heck were Disney and Pixar thinking releasing this trailer? How do you think the kids who love Lightning McQueen are going to feel watching this? And then a comment to that, a guy said, I agree. I'm not going to show it to my kids. I was excited to show the other ones to them. And so that's just me and two other parents. Their interpretation of this trailer was, I can't show my kids this. I can't show my kids a trailer to Cars. So I think that's kind of the tension of what they were going for, was they wanted to do something that's going to win back all of the adults that saw Cars 1 and Cars 2, and especially Cars 2, and went, oh my goodness, they're just going for the kiddie audience. This is not a good movie. It's just a way to sell products to kids. They want to do more cars, so here we go, we've got this. And so they went so overboard trying to capture these people back that they made a movie, or they made a trailer, I don't know what the movie's like, that is not for the kids. It's not for the target audience, which I think is just, I don't understand the decision, because it's okay if Cars is just for my 4-year-old. If that's what they're trying to do, if they're going to make a bunch of Cars movies because Cars movies make a ton of money and sell a ton of merchandise, then just do that. Make a product for that target audience. But if you're trying to make a movie for a 4-year-old and then you're killing off his favorite character or maiming him or whatever you're doing to appeal to the adults. You're torn in really two directions. That's not the kind of the Pixar way. That's not what Pixar's done well. They've mastered making family entertainment. What they haven't done is taken like cheesy stuff just for kids and then transition it over to just adults. A trailer about a car getting in a car accident and whatever that means for him is not for kids. And that's where I see kind of the tension, and I don't quite understand what they're doing, and I really struggle with what they're doing of like, that's not a brave move. That's just a weird move. That's an odd direction to go with a franchise. Embrace what it is. This is your one that's just for kids. It's less family entertainment and more kids entertainment. Or abandon it and do something different. But taking the kid character and maiming him for adults to make them go, ooh, this is serious. You're wounding little kids in order to appeal to adults. I don't think that that's the best direction to go. Jennifer, did you have anything to add on the trailer or any comments you've seen?
Alter the Stream said that in the description of the trailer it mentions the plot. So Lightning McQueen gets in an accident and trains with another car to prepare for a new race. So it's like the third act of Planes, which he's totally right. That's exactly what that is. Ryan.
Or Rocky 3.
No.
It's not like Rocky 3 where Rocky gets defeated and then he has to train with Apollo Creed to defeat Clubber Lang.
Ryan said he can tell that they're going for a different audience, but he loved the trailer.
Were there any other thoughts on that one?
David just commented, said he thinks they're targeting the kids who watched the first movie and didn't like the second. So this one is like a revamped focus.
And so I think one thing that makes Pixar so interesting and what they're able to do is that they've barely had any missteps. They're just over 20 years old, and they've got a whole bunch of franchises now. And Cars is kind of their only misstep, but it's only a misstep for adult audiences. As a product for kids, it's wildly successful. It's made crazy amounts of money. And so they've earned so much rapport that we trust them to do good work. And they're one of those things from your childhood that still holds up as you get older. A lot of the stuff from your childhood, you hit age 20 and you look back and you go, that's stupid. That's not good. You don't enjoy it. Pixar is an exception to that. They make truly excellent films for 4-year-olds, for my 2-year-old, that I can watch as an adult and still enjoy it. And I can go back and watch these movies that I watched when I wasn't a kid. Toy Story came out when I was 14, so I'm not a great example of this. My wife's only slightly better example of this. But the reality is that they hold up so well. And two kind of, I think, trying to loop back on what kind of David was saying there, is that you guys are growing up with them more so than I even have, because I was always kind of on the older end of it. Most of you guys watching, a lot of you guys watching, have grown up with Cars, you've grown up with Toy Story, and so they can do something really neat where they can make a third movie that's for you, and you are the target audience, the exact audience that watched the first movie. You're just a teenager now. You're an 18-year-old now. You're 20 now. And so it's very interesting what they're able to do, because they've kept up their quality, because they've kept making these movies, and because, well, you keep getting older 1 year at a time as it works out. Was there anything else anyone has added?
Alter the Stream wants to know if you think Cars 3 will be fresh or rotten on Rotten Tomatoes when it comes out. What's your prediction?
Based off what it looks like they're trying to do here, I would go with it's probably going to be fresh. I don't have the statistics on it, but I'm pretty sure that of Pixar's movies, Cars 2 might be the only one that's rotten. And I don't even know if it's rotten. But of their movies, the vast majority of them are not just fresh, but certified fresh, which means over 75% of reviews are fresh for it. I think that's probably only a handful aren't over 75%. But for that matter, only a handful aren't over 90%. They are pumping out the best reviewed movies of almost every year. That's what they've done for almost 20 years. And because of that, you're betting against the odds to suggest that this isn't going to be a fresh reviewed movie. So I certainly think that's what they're aiming to do. They're aiming to make a great movie. out of a series that hasn't made great movies. They've made good entertainment for kids. So all that to say, yeah, I'm pretty sure it will be fresh. And I'm sure it'll probably be the one that I like the most of the bunch. I just would prefer that my kid likes it the best of the bunch rather than me, because I'm not the target audience. Making a movie that like I can sit like that's more kind of enjoyable for me, and my little kid's crying during it as Lightning McQueen's in a car accident and we see him in the car hospital with his arms all hung up, and it flashes back to a year ago when he was in a car accident with my wife and was traumatized from that and still will randomly start crying like, I don't like this car, I like the old car. That's not something that seems like a great idea to me. But, you know, I'm sure this will be a certified fresh movie. With that said, let's move on to our next topic, our third question of the day. What is it?
In Star Wars, a small group of religious rebels start to attack government facilities, including a space station with millions of people on board. Does Star Wars promote terrorism?
Wow, that's an awfully politically charged question you would ask me. I think that's very odd that you would take things in this type of direction. Anyway, if you're just tuning in, I wrote all these questions, and I thought it'd be fun to have my wife ask me such a ridiculous question. So anyway, I've been going through a lot of the Star Wars books recently, and I specifically went through Lost Stars this past week. And in the story, basically you see the Civil War with the Empire versus the Rebellion from the perspective of an officer that's in the Empire, but isn't a sociopath. They aren't a tyrant. Basically, they're just by their nature loyal to the government, loyal to authority figures, and so they're rationalizing everything that's going on throughout it. And throughout the whole thing, they keep calling the rebellion terrorists. And so I started to think about it quite a bit, and throughout the whole thing, it's drawing comparisons. You've got an established government that, to us with inside information, because we saw the historic documents of episodes 1 through 3, we know that Palpatine came to power through corruption, all these other things. Civilians, however, don't know any of that. The civilians don't know that there's all these other things going on. They just know that their government is a little bit authoritarian and they like military. But when they start getting crazy is when they blow up a planet. Well, they don't blow up a planet until after a group of people have already started rebelling and attacking military bases and blowing things up and doing things. And they have a religious ideology, the force that they believe in, that they think is guiding them to try and stop the evil forces. And this leads us to Star Wars, the original trilogy, where this rebellion of religious fanatics start blowing up enemy stuff. So, does Star Wars promote radical terrorism? The answer, of course, is yes. Jennifer, what was your take on this one?
I'm going to pass.
So, I asked the question just to throw out an idea, because I thought it'd be fun to talk about. Because it's interesting the way that when Star Wars came out, the original trilogy, that wasn't the discussion of, those weren't the wars, that wasn't the war that we were fighting. It's not that terrorism didn't exist. It's not that there weren't things like that going on in the world. But when George Lucas wrote and started writing the first draft of the original Star Wars movie, it was in 1972, they're like landing the plane of the Vietnam War. And that was the context under which he starts to make this movie. That was the world in which that movie was created, or Star Wars was created, in this whole mythology. And what's interesting is to have a series like this, a franchise that has gone for 40 years now. You jump forward and we're able to interpret this story in light of an entirely new world where the war we're fighting is terrorism. And Star Wars, the way things have swapped in the interpretation of wars is so radically different to where it's like, that's interesting. A different way to think about who are terrorists, what is terrorism, what is good, and what is evil. Anyone in the comment section happen to throw out their own thoughts on my politically charged question?
David said he thinks it's more akin to politics than it is religion. The Empire is basically the Nazi Party. And then Alter the Storm said, and the Jedi rarely kill people. At most, they'd injure them. Anakin could have been an exception if he didn't become a Sith.
That's actually, as I was reading Lost Stars, the Nazis is very, very much what I kept thinking, and it made I'll have a review out in a couple of days, but it makes one of the characters very unsympathetic, because as things are happening, it's very Nazi-ish. It's a government that's doing horrible atrocities, blaming other people for things, and this character is rationalizing horrible, horrible things happening as, well, they're rebelling against the government. They're forcing this to happen. Why are they doing this? It's like, but yes, very much that Nazi comparison is what kind of came to my mind as well. But I just wanted to throw an idea out there just to get some thoughts. So was there another comment on it, or?
Tisha said, in many ways, the Republic was not functional.
So, Tisha, I'm assuming Messing, has chimed in to say the Republic was not functional. And that's one of the things that the prequels really kind of made clear about these world of Star Wars. Obi-Wan Kenobi made it sound like everything was great before the Empire. And the prequels give you this picture of things and you go, this is really dysfunctional. This is not working. The Jedi is not quite as wonderful as the romanticized view that an old aging Jedi would tell us and make us think it is. And I think the other piece to it is because the original trilogy or the Star Wars movies in general are told from the perspective of the light side and the rebellion, the resistance, the Jedi, is that you put the Empire only in a bad light as opposed to seeing there is a positive side to the tyranny of a guy who has complete control, is that there's order to things when there's a tyrant forcing you into compliance. It's ordered, it's structured. There's positive things to that. Type A personalities probably would love the Empire. I'm not a type A personality, so I would probably do terrible. My wife is very much a list maker, loves schedules, so I'm pretty sure she would absolutely love Palpatine and the Empire. Am I right on that? I'm getting a very bad look. What's the next question on our list?
Of the major film releases in December, which films are you excited for?
Read off our list.
Rogue One, Collateral Beauty, The Founder, Passengers, Assassin's Creed, Sing, Patriots Day, Why Him, and Fences.
All right, so I just looked at the movies coming out and real quick threw about 10 of them up in a list that I immediately knew what they were. That's not a list of movies I'm all excited for. That's just a list of movies I knew what they were as soon as I saw the name of it. You tell me in the comment section, which movies are you excited for that are coming up in the month of December? Maybe we'll have a little feedback. For me, as I looked at that list of movies coming out, Rogue One, of course, is my top most anticipated movie that's coming out in the month of December. I love Star Wars. Very fascinated just to see what they're going to do with this. This is a much more interesting movie to me than The Force Awakens was. And I love The Force Awakens. It's my favorite movie of last year. Not because it was the best movie of last year, just because I get to pick what my favorite is, and I picked that one. So I love that movie. But it was kind of a revamped A New Hope. It was kind of the continuation. We knew what we were going to get. Whereas with this one, it's more interesting because we don't quite know what this is going to be. We don't know how similar and different it's going to be. We don't know what the rules are. Like, I think they just announced this last week, there's not going to be the opening crawl. Well, how does a Star Wars movie without an opening crawl? It appears in the trailers that there's going to be some like flashbacks in it and time jumping. Well, we've never seen a Star Wars movie with actual flashbacks and actual time jumping. That makes it an interesting movie that I'm fascinated by what it's going to be. At the same time, as you've seen in some of my other videos, I have a lot of questions about it, some skepticism. The trailers haven't blown my mind. Coming up in a few days, I'm going to do a video, I think, where I'm going to talk about the cheesiest lines in the trailer because it's had a bunch of cheesy lines in the trailers. But very excited for it. Other ones that I'm really excited about, Passengers. I've liked the trailers for Passengers a good bit. I really like Chris Pratt. I married Jennifer Lawrence. My wife right over here, her maiden name is Jennifer Lawrence. So naturally, I kind of have to be a fan of her as an actress. So putting them on a spaceship, whatever's going to happen, it looks good. It looks interesting to me. And so I'm pretty excited about that one to see if it turns out to be a nice sci-fi adventure. And I think it's an original story. So seeing an original sci-fi story that they're giving a big budget with some big stars in it and really taking a chance on it, that makes me really interested. That's what I want Hollywood to do. So I want to put my energy and interest towards things like that. Along the same lines, one I probably won't see in the theater, but I'm very interested in was The Founder. Is that what it's called? Founder. It's about the origins of my favorite Irish burger joint, McDonald's. We have one locally here in Hutto, where I live, and it looks interesting. It's another Michael Keaton Oscar bait project. It looks like they're trying really hard to get him an Oscar for some reason, which I'm all for getting him an Oscar. So cheers to them for going for it. And on Fences, the Denzel Washington Oscar picture that looks like he's swinging for an Oscar as well, as he likes to do every couple of years. It's like every 2 or 3 years he puts out a movie where he swings for the Oscar fences, and then for 2 years straight he makes movies trying to convince you that he can still beat people up. I'm fine with either one of them because he does a great job in both of those. Which one of those are you most excited about, Jennifer?
Passengers.
Most excited about Passengers. Interesting. So you put Passengers over a Star Wars movie.
Am I allowed to say what I want to say?
I mean, you can. There just might be consequences.
I am infinitely more excited about Passengers than I am about Star Wars.
Really? Interesting. That is the second time in the last few days that I've had someone basically say something like that about how they're totally not interested in Rogue One, or one person who indicated they were shocked I was interested in Rogue One, which is, I don't know. It's me. Like, literally, I've just got Star Wars stuff all around my house. There's a Darth Vader right there. So anything Star Wars, I'm going to be pretty excited about, even if it's not good. I watched Ewoks, The Battle for Endor, by myself a few days ago. So that just tells you everything you need to know about how easy I am to please when it comes to Star Wars stuff. In the comment section, what are other people saying about what they're excited for?
Give me a second. I need to go back. There's been some good stuff. Silence is one that someone, James was worried he might not see. We hadn't mentioned that one. It's a Martin Scorsese, apparently limited release.
Is that I believe that one's about the missionary?
Yeah, with Liam Neeson and Andrew Garfield.
We named our son after Liam Neeson.
Not true.
Oh, I didn't know.
Someone asked, do you want me to keep going with the movies or different question?
No, keep asking about the movies.
There's someone suggested La La Land with Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, which I haven't heard about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you'll be pumped about that one.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Alter the Stream said Rogue One, Passengers, La La Land, Assassin's Creed, Fences, Collateral Beauty, A Monster Calls, Hidden Figures, and Sing is what they're interested in.
All right, so lots of movies coming out, lots of movies to talk about this month. I literally was looking at the list, and I couldn't keep up. I was like, I can't look up to remind myself what all of these are, so I just put the ones that immediately came to mind. That I knew what they were. Actually, right before we started, she was watching the trailers for some of them to find out what they were. It's like, what on earth is the Founder? So she looked into that. Did we have some questions that came in?
Entering December, James says, entering December now, are there any last films of 2016 you want to see before compiling a best/worst of list?
Really just the movies that are on my list here. The problem for me is I just can't see most of the movies that come out. I just don't have the free time. I got 2 kids. I got a wife. All kinds of stuff I need to do. So a lot of like it right now. I have to, the old ball and change, right? So movies for me are very much escapism. They're very much, I want to go and watch something I enjoy that stirs emotions of excitement, of tragedy, of love, of loss. That's kind of what I want. And so a lot of things that would be more intellectually stimulating, that would entice me in other ways, I don't see a lot of those right now. And then the other tricky thing about life is that, this is a weird thing, of all the things that are tricky in life, this is probably pretty low on the list. We're kind of in like a golden age of television where there's too much good television to possibly watch all of it. And so then that takes away time from watching movies because there's so much good TV be pumped out every single week. When people talk about how good TV was back in the 80s, I get kind of confused because, I mean, yeah, we got Star Trek The Next Generation, and then I'm not quite sure like what we're talking about of how great television was in the past. Television right now is incredible, and it keeps getting better with what they're able to do with storytelling. So when I think about movies this year, I just kind of look at the movies I just talked about are the ones that I'll probably see in December and to compile my best of list. And I just kind of have to acknowledge for myself, I can't see everything I want to see to be able to compile any sort of list that would be comprehensive. It's just, hey, these are the ones I saw and they're my favorites. And I didn't see all that many movies. And I didn't see many movies that would give me any sort of indie credibility or credibility as an adult that watches serious things. I just watch things with things that blow up that I enjoy watching. What's next?
What are your best and worst films of the year so far?
Oh, worst of the year so far. This is a cheating answer, but it was Hard Target 2. They did a direct-to-video sequel to Hard Target with Van Damme. So, for me, I'll call that a bar that's high. For the rest of humanity, the bar's already really low. And they were so far below the low. Like, if you thought that Van Damme movies had too much plot and focused on characters and character development, they have made a sequel for you. And especially, I mean, everything about it, the acting, the fight choreography, everything, so much worse. Now, that's not really a fair answer because it's a direct-to-video movie where they know it's just guys that want to watch movies where people beat each other up. As for movies I saw in the theater, I don't know. What do you think is the one I thought was the worst?
I have to see a list. I can't think that fast.
The thing is, yeah, I can't think that fast either. We don't go see enough movies that we would go see movies that we were anticipating not liking. So I'm sure if I watched, I guess Adam Sandler hasn't put a movie out in the theater, but if he put one out in the theater and I saw that, and I'd be like, that's the worst movie of the year. But I wouldn't go see it. I haven't seen anything he put out in 10 years. So the stuff that would generally be considered worst of the year, I don't see. And so if I was thinking about it, I'd say Independence Day, Resurgence, X-Men Apocalypse, Suicide Squad. I'd list Ghostbusters. I'd list off a bunch of movies, but if I'm being honest, I mean, I would call those like decent enough blockbusters, not good, but I didn't feel like, oh man, I've lost 2 hours of my life. This is painful. I mean, it was just kind of like, okay, 2 hours are gone. I chuckled a little. There were some pretty images on the screen. So I can't really say a worst. As for best of the year thus far, I don't know. That's always so hard. Like, I feel like
Civil War.
Like maybe I'd say Civil War because it was just kind of based off of like they aimed pretty high and they hit pretty high. But it was a movie that I wasn't really all that excited about because I've seen these characters in a movie before. I had fun watching it. I loved it. But I watched Batman v Superman like 3 times in the theaters, and I've seen it a couple times at home. I've watched Civil War, I think, 2 times. And Civil War is a much better movie, but this was a more, like, Batman v Superman was more interesting to me. That's what makes it difficult for me to give my best of the year. Maybe biggest surprise of the year, Bloodfather with Mel Gibson, particularly because I didn't know it was coming out. And then I saw the trailer, I was like, oh, it's like Taken with Mel Gibson. But it's not really like Taken. It's like an actual drama with some action in it. Those are kind of my thoughts, some initial quick thoughts on where I'm kind of at. I don't know what'll be my favorite. I'm hoping that Rogue One is it. But there's been a lot of stuff, just like The Accountant. I really enjoyed that. Magnificent Seven. I really enjoyed that. And those 2 in particular because they weren't something on my radar. Civil War, it's on my radar. I'm anticipating it. And you go into a Marvel movie, you know what you're getting. And it's you wonder, is it going to be one of the great ones, one of the good ones, one of the it's good enough but kind of forgettable? That's kind of your spectrum. And so with Civil War, it fell right in that spectrum where some of these other movies, like The Accountant, was like, oh, that was a really cool movie. We need more movies like that. Oh, Magnificent Seven, a fun Western that like actually had stakes and people died in it. And it was very much a modern day blockbuster, but it also went against some of the happy endings of modern day blockbusters. So that was some of my thoughts on it initially. I have another question. How many more questions do we have?
I don't know how many. Tisha said that Batman Killing Joke was the worst movie of the year.
Oh yeah, let's pick that one. We'll go Batman Killing Joke. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I'll go Batman Killing Joke. It actually was released in the theaters. I always forget about it because I didn't see it in the theater. I went with the VOD option and watched it, and I wanted to like it. I wanted to give it a better review, so I think I gave it a 6 out of 10 on my video. It's much lower than that now. If you're wondering if I change my reviews, I think everyone should probably change most of their reviews as they process them, because most movies, as you think about it, as you rewatch it, it'll go up or down. And with thinking about Batman the Killing Joke, if you don't know what this is, it's based off the graphic novel from the 80s. That's a classic graphic novel, but it's a short graphic novel, so it'd only be about a 25, 30-minute story. So then they throw a story onto the beginning of it that's not really connected to it, and it's so awkward the direction they go with it. No matter who you are, if you're on the conservative side of things, you're going to be offended by the weird sexual content and the direction they go with it. If you're on the more liberal side of it, you're going to be offended by the portrayal of a gay character in it. And none of it's offensive in any sort of right ways. It's just like, what were you thinking making this movie like this? And why is it so bad? Most importantly, because it's not good. The two parts don't go together. The first part does not enhance the second part. So good call. Batman Killing Joke is the worst, most disappointing, biggest waste of wasted opportunity, and just kind of ones that leave you the grossest feeling that I've seen this year.
5 more questions.
We probably can't go for 5 more questions, I don't think, unless they're quick ones. But let's say I'll go for 5 more minutes, and then I'll wrap up, and we'll see what we can get through. So I'll try and go quick through these.
Mr. Wayne 007 asks, what is your most anticipated movies of 2017?
Guardians of the Galaxy 2, that's my favorite of the Marvel movies, just because it's so interesting to me, what they did with it. And so Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Star Wars Episode 8, those are the 2 that immediately come to mind.
What is the first movie that you saw in the theater that you remember?
Star Trek 5. I believe it's not the first one I saw in the theater. It's the first one I remember seeing. So I came out in 1989. So I'm pretty positive I would have seen Batman before this. There's a person in the comment section. They might be able to give some answers to some of the, fill in some gaps on this if I miss anything. But so I'm sure I saw movies before this. But we were doing a car trip as a family to California. And we stopped in a small town, I believe Arizona, and stayed in a hotel, and we're like, let's go to the movies. And the theater would not play the movie if 20 people didn't buy a ticket to it. And so this is the context under which I remember seeing Star Trek 5 in the theater. And we went to it, and we're sitting there like counting heads in the room, like, have they sold enough tickets? They sold enough tickets. And we got to see the masterpiece that is William Shatner, the other namesake of my child, his magnum opus, Star Trek 5. That's the first movie I remember seeing in the theater. Remember the experience and everything.
Langley Productions asks, what's a movie this year you liked that you would like to see again?
A movie that I saw this year that I'd like to see again?
Mm-hmm.
The Accountant. That's probably the one that I've been like, I want to see that again, see how the pieces fit together. And particularly because it's a story that has a lot of plot twists and kind of a slow burn in certain ways. And so that's the one that most I was like, want to go see it again and fill in the gaps of all of what happened in it. Next.
How much Vader do you think will be in Rogue One?
Man, that's a tough one. In particular, because I think the movie that's throwing me off and has me worried about it is Suicide Squad. So Suicide Squad, you're like, they're going to have just a bit of Batman. We're going to sprinkle some Batman into it. And then you see the trailers for it, and they show like 3-4 different shots of Batman in the trailers for it. Then you see the movie, and he's in 37 seconds of the movie or something like that. He's not in the movie other than these little like flashes of him real quick. And I think that was okay for that movie. I wish they hadn't put him in the trailers. If they left him out of the trailers, it would have been fine with what they did with him. With Rogue One, however, this is not an ongoing franchise. We're going to get more Batfleck and a Justice League next year, and then the Batman movie a couple of years from now, whenever that comes out. But with Vader, that's not what's happening. We're getting this one movie set in a time period where we have Vader, and this is our opportunity to see him in full action with 21st century effects. So we've never gotten really to see Vader walk into a room full of rebels and he just like goes, uses the Force and slams them against the wall. We've never gotten to see him just tear people to pieces as this high-level former Jedi Sith filled with hate, filled with evil, that just wants to kill people. We haven't gotten to see that yet. So that's something I would love to get to see in this movie. I just don't really know. Because I'm hearing people say, oh yeah, they'll just sprinkle him in, maybe a couple scenes. I don't want too much more than that. No, I want like 15 minutes of Vader in this movie. Or if he's just in like a couple scenes at some point in time, I mean, it's him in a major scene with a major role, tearing guys to shreds. If we see this movie and Vader doesn't use his lightsaber and like just tear through a room of rebels, I'm leaving disappointed. Like, I need to see Vader tearing guys to shreds. Now, maybe they've got a brilliant way to make this movie, and he's in it for 30 seconds, and I'm going to go, that was incredible. It doesn't seem likely that would work. It seems like if you're going to do Vader and put him in this movie, you've got to give him an awesome scene. I don't need a bunch of awesome scenes. I don't need him. That's not what I need. But he needs to have an awesome scene. Like just what every fanboy has always wanted to see, because why wouldn't you? It's not like pandering. It's not weird. It's a movie about the Death Star. We know he's around at this point in time. We know he's killing rebels at this point in time. It makes sense for him to appear. It makes sense for them to be a conflict. It makes sense for him to be an enforcer in that setting. It makes sense for this movie to perhaps kind of end with him on a Star Destroyer tracing a ship and then the credits roll. Like, there's a bunch of stuff. It makes sense for him to have a presence that's strong in this movie, dark in this movie, and awesome in this movie. Let's take one more question. We got a good final question.
How did you gain 103 subscribers in
a week? The trick is put out the absolute worst video you've ever put on your channel, and then you will magically get 103 subscribers in a week. If you're looking for some actual tips on how it happens, it's very much kind of figuring out what people watch and timing things just right and working on the title, the description, the tags, and all of that to kind of ride the wave of what people want that would draw new subscribers. As a person, I probably would never choose to do a live trailer reaction where you're shooting a picture of my face. Because I'm just not a very emotive person and things like that. I'm not going to watch it and be like, oh man, Lightning McQueen just went down. Oh man. I'm not going to do that. And I've thought about doing it just to mess with people and do a fake trailer reaction, but I don't respond that emotively to things like that outside. I forget what word I'm trying, emotively. I don't know. But I don't do that. And so I wouldn't naturally do that, but people watch those videos. So I do it as a way to, I want to talk about the trailers, so I will do what people want. And so lots of people come to these videos. And so you can, a bunch of the other guys like Durbin and these other guys that they'll tell you that trailer reactions get the most new people to see your channel. And as your channel, the more subscribers you have, the more confident people have that you're good. It's like borrowed confidence. And so I've seen kind of a snowball effect of as I've had more subscribers come in, and just by chance, I mean, I have no, like literally, this was the least thought out video, this Cars 3 trailer video that has caused this boom of views and subscribers I've had. It's the worst video on my channel, but it was right at the right moment, and I brought my 4-year-old along, so here's a 4-year-old's reaction. So there's people that literally in the comment section are like, I came here to watch a kid cry. This kid's not crying. What's wrong with your kid? Which is hilarious, because that's why I would watch the video too. But just well, I got the bat nasty look from the wife. The right timing, the right titles, the right tags to get it suggested by other people. You put all those pieces together and you can have these sudden surges. Some of it's just luck, though, the way things come together and why you suddenly get successful. There you go. Did we have anything else? Or
It's just time.
Oh, we are over on... We are over on time. Anyway, as I close out, thank you guys so much for watching. Upcoming on this week, I believe I'm going to have a video talking about the Rogue One trailers one last time and the cheesiest lines that have been in there. I'm going to have a book review for Lost Stars, the Star Wars novel. It's a pretty cool little book. Pretty excited to talk about it. Also, I think on Tyler Tompkins' channel, we're going to do a discussion of a follow-up discussion about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. He's the Harry Potter fan. I'm the Harry Potter non-fan. So on his channel, go over there, subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. We're going to talk about it. But really, as always, the most important thing is I want to talk with you about movies. I don't want to just talk about movies. I want to talk with you. So join in the comment section. Join us for future live feeds. I think the next one will be next Saturday is when we'll do this once again. Thank you so much for watching. If this is your first time tuning in, normally the production value is a little bit better than this. It's not so off the cuff. Normally I don't have my wife over here. I cut things together. But thank you for checking out. Please consider clicking that subscribe button. And as always, thank you. That's a little bit of an awkward ending, isn't it?